Okay, so tonight we're going to talk about converting fractions to decimals. There's a relationship between fractions and decimals. So if I were going to say this fraction right here, I would say 4/10. If it's written as a decimal, it's also 4/10. So sometimes if you can just read the fraction correctly, you can kind of tell what decimal it is equivalent to. This one is 35 hundredths, so 0.35 or 35 hundredths. This one is 57 hundredths. So if I were going to write that as a decimal, it would be 0.57 hundredths. So it's really important to know what the place values are. The first place value after the decimal point is tenths, so tenths. If there are two decimal places after the two place values after the decimal point, it is hundredths. If you had three, it would be thousandths. So the easiest way to convert a fraction to a decimal, when it's possible, create an equivalent fraction with tenths or hundredths. So sometimes, like in this case, since my denominator here was 5, if I multiply 5 times 2, I get 10. Now, once I have a 10 in the denominator, then it's easy to tell what decimal it is. But if I multiply the bottom by 2, I have to multiply the top by 2 as well. 3 times 2 is 6. So I end up with 6/10, or 0.6, which is 6/10. 5 over 20, I can multiply the 20 times 5. 5 times 20 is 100. And then I have to multiply the top by 5 as well. 5 times 5 is 25. 25 over 100 is 25 hundredths. Now let's try some here. Okay, if I have a denominator of 25, I could multiply that by 4. So times 4. And that would give me 100 on the bottom. But if I multiply the bottom by 4, I have to multiply the top by 4. And 3 times 4 is 12. So what I have here is 12 hundredths. Now hundredths mean I'm going to have two decimal places after my point, or my decimal point. So I have 12 hundredths. Okay, 1/4. 4, I can multiply that to get 100. I would multiply that by 25. So by 25. If I multiply the bottom by 25, I have to multiply the top by 25. So on the top, I have 25, because 1 times 25 is 25. On the bottom, 4 times 25 is 100. So I get 100 on the bottom. So I have 25 hundredths. And again, hundredths is two decimal places, so I have 0.25. And the third one, 15 over 20. 20 is also, I can multiply that by 5 to get 100. If I multiply the bottom by 5, I have to multiply the top by 5. So I end up with 75 over 100. 75 hundredths is 0.75. Now, not every fraction has a denominator that can be multiplied to get 100. Sometimes, like if I have 3/8, there's nothing I can multiply 8 by in order to get 100 or a 10. In that case, we have to divide. So just like when we were talking about, dividing numbers, this top number goes in the coffin and the bottom number goes on the outside. And right away I can see that my 3 is smaller than my 8. And I'm going to need some zeros. So I put a decimal point, add some zeros. I'm going to go ahead and put my decimal point on top. So we want to do that first. We don't want to lose where that is. 8 into 3, we already said that wasn't going to work. So it goes none. So now I'm going to do 8 into 30. So how many times does 8 go into 30? Well, it goes 3 times, because 8 times 3 is 24. 24. And I have to do some long division here. 24 minus 30 is 6. And since I didn't end up with 0, I'm going to have to bring down another number and do it again. So now I'm going to be dividing 8 into 60. And that goes 7 times. 8 times 7 is 56. I'm going to run out of room. 60 minus 56 is 4. And I'm going to just keep dividing here, but I ran out of room. Oh, we were almost done. Yeah, because that's going to be 40. And let's see, maybe I can make, oh, look. Oh, there we go. Okay, so that leaves me with 4. And then I'm going to bring down another 0. And 8 into 40 is 5. And that gives me my 40. And when I subtract that, I get 0. So once I get 0 down at the bottom, I can stop. So I now know that this decimal, this fraction, 3 over 8, is 0.375. Sometimes these can get kind of long. You have to just be really careful with your dividing. All right, let's try some other ones. 1/8. All right, so I'm going to put the 1 underneath in the coffin, right? And 8 on the outside. 1 is definitely smaller than 8, so I'm going to add zeros. Now, I think, I usually add 2 or 3. You might not need that many, but I'm just not sure. So I'm just going to go ahead and put them all there just in case. Then I'm going to put my decimal point up here. 8 goes into 1, none, so I know this is going to be 0. 8 into 10, it'll go 1 time. So we get an 8 here. 10 minus 8 is 2. Didn't come out to 0, so I'm going to have to bring down another number. So now I have 20. 8 into 20 goes twice. 8 times 2 is 16. Subtract. 16 minus 20 is 4. Bring down another 0. 8 into 40 is 5. 40. And I get 0. So now that I've got 0, I know I can stop. And this is 0.125. All right, I'm going to erase that so I have some room to do the next one. The next one is 2/3. So I'm going to come up here so I have lots of room. The 2 goes in the coffin. 3 goes on the outside. Add my decimal point here and here and add some zeros. Make sure this line comes out here. All right, 3 into 2 goes none. 3 into 20. Well, that's going to go 6 times. 6 times 8, I'm sorry, 6 times 3 is 18. When I subtract that, I get 2, bring down a 0. 6 again is 18. Now, I think this is a pattern, but I'm going to do it again. We're going to see. Now I've got a 2, bring down a 0, get a 6 again. Now, when I see something happen like this, so 3 times in a row here, I end up with the exact same thing. And look, I got a 2 again. If I bring down another 0, I'm just going to get another 6. This is just going to go on and on forever. So if you get 2 or 3 in a row of the same number, we're just going to round it. So this is 0.6, and I can put a bar over top of it. That's our repeating bar. That means that 6 is just going to go on and on. You could do this all day long, but you're never going to get anywhere. So that is my answer, 0.6. And then 5/8. All right, 5/8. So we're going to put 5 in here. We're going to put 8 out there. It's not a very nice 5, but it'll do. Put my decimal point. No, it's not a nice 5. I have to fix it. Oh. There we go. That's better. So we're going to add some zeros. Put our 8 out here. Put my decimal point. 8 goes into 5, none. Then we're going to go to the 50. So 8 into 50 goes 6 times. That's 48. 50 minus 48 is, of course, 2. Bring down the 0. 8 into 20 goes twice. That is 16. 20 minus 16 is 4. Now I need another 0. Bring down another 0. 8 into 40 is 5. 8 times 5 is 40. And this one I got my 0. So it is 0.625. So the most important thing to remember when you're changing these fractions into decimals is just to be very careful with your dividing. Make sure you get those decimals put in and that you line all your numbers up because you don't want to get your decimal point in the wrong place.